Hi everyone, my name is Matthew and I'm part of the FAAA Students and Emerging Professionals stream. Back here today for another fireside chat, and today I have with me Nathan Fradley. Nathan, good morning, and how are you today? Firstly, and tell me a bit about yourself.
I'm great, Matt. So for everyone tuning in, Nathan Fradley here. I'm a senior advisor at Tribeca Financial. So my role here, I head up a team of another senior advisor, an advisor, and associate, and then we work within the business as a whole. And I've been an advisor for 12 years now. Formerly ran my own practice, sold that into Tribeca and joined as an employee back in December 21. And my main areas, I suppose, of expertise. Most people know me for my ethical investment, responsible investment, ESG work. I also do a lot of work with aged care and really technical estate planning kind of strategies as well.
Cool, thank you. First question for today is, Nathan, what is your current role and how does it fit within the financial advice profession?
So I do a few different things. So I'm an advisor day to day. And I probably take on 3 to 4 new clients a quarter. So not a huge amount. I've got a well-established brand. I've also got a well-established idea of my advice identity, who I work with, which tends to be sort of 55 to 65-year-old, generally women who are in financial difficulty in the sense that there's complexities they don't quite understand. But I also then manage a team of advisors who all have their own little niches and work within the business as a whole. And then I'm the ESG lead in our business, obviously, but I also do that more broadly within the industry as well. So I run another operation called Ethos ESG, where I work with financial advisors, helping them navigate the ethical investment conversation piece and using our software and platform to do so.
Great, perfect, thank you. Second question I have for you is, what does your job entail and what does a typical day look like for you?
So I usually get in about 8 o'clock-ish. We don't have a set time. We've got flexible work hours. We do like a 4-day work week, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool like that. So I usually get in about 8-ish. And most of the time I'll start my day by sort of just working through my jobs list and a few other admin tasks. I try and do a bit of an hour of power because if I don't, that kind of sets the momentum for me. And then I'll usually have 2 to 3 meetings a day. So that will tend to be either a new client meeting, we call it discovery appointment, meeting a brand new client, taking them through our process, finding out about themselves. We, as part of our work here, focus on financial well-being and not so much product orientation. So we're really interested in who they are, where they want to get to, and what mindset is holding them back. And so either a discovery meeting, it might be a review, catching up with an existing client, or I could be presenting some advice. Working through either a strategy approach where we are figuring out what advice we want to give and where they want to go and showing the client options, or a formal advice presentation stage. So usually 2 to 3 meetings a day. I would max out at 3.
Yeah.
I would like to max out at 3. Sometimes I don't, but I'm terrible with my calendar. And then in between that, I'm obviously managing my team as well. So, working with my advisor or my senior advisor on what they're working on at the moment, that kind of stuff as well. And then I, as a lead advisor in our business, I bring in a fair bit of referrals as well. So generally 1 to 2 times a week, I'm out of the office meeting with lawyers, with accountants, with different people in different professions, who we even like things like osteopaths and things like that.
Yeah.
Working with people who I get along with, where we have similar kind of clients and we can help each other out. So I do a fair bit of work in that space as well.
Great, thank you. Sounds like a very, very interesting day, and good to hear that your meetings max out at kind of 3 per day as well. I feel like any more than that can be a bit draining sometimes.
We've got a sort of a philosophy that you've got kind of 3 to 5 hours of hard work in you a day.
Yeah.
And if you're planning more than that, you're not effective. And if you stack a day on top of a day on top of a day of that, you become a liability to yourself. You can't be your best. You become ineffective. And we're really conscious of that in our workplace around keeping us sharp and effective instead of just working more hours.
Yeah. No, perfect. I really like that approach. The next question I have for you is, what influenced your decision to begin a career in the financial planning or financial advice sector?
This is kind of interesting. So it actually started at uni. So in my last year of uni, I was studying both financial planning and then doing like the final year corporate finance subjects,
Okay.
and an honors level investment subject that I managed to pick up.
Yeah.
And I got a honors placement from one of my subject conveners, found me an honors placement working with a investment bank. And it was studying the Fibonacci sequence on the Singapore Stock Exchange, right? That was
Whoa.
it's like super, super niche.
Yeah.
And then another convener said, I heard about that. That's fantastic. Congratulations. But is that you? And he said, you're doing our financial planning subject. You're a real people person. And I come from very working class background. All my mates are tradies.
Yeah.
And I was kind of looking at it and going, do I want to be working in high-end Melbourne, grinding, highly technical number kind of orientation, or do I want to work with people?
Yeah.
And formerly run my own like personal training business through uni and a few other things.
Oh,
I'm a people person, right? So I was like, you know what, this is the direction I'm going to go down. And that's actually where my decision came from. I decided to lean into the people side.
yeah.
And it was the best decision because I think the industry's really evolved in the 12 years I've been in it on our journey to professionalism, from being transactors, being product orientated, to really being fundamentally people orientated.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions about the financial planning, I guess, profession as a whole. It's not just, punching out numbers and reports and all that and investments. It really is that people-based career, which I think is, what influenced me to, study as well, financial planning.
Absolutely.
Next question I have for you is, what is your favorite part of the job?
It depends on the day and what mood I'm in. I actually, at the moment, I'm filling my cup up most by developing and growing my team. That's what's really, really getting me up and about. But I also love chewing on something technical that solves an emotional problem. So like aged care is a classic example where, generally we've got someone who comes and sees me who's the eldest daughter in a family who says, Mum needs to go into care. I don't know where to start. How does it work with Centrelink and capital gains? She's got these shares, and we've got this, and and how do we do it all?
Yeah.
What she wants is to sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
What we immediately jump to is Centrelink and calculations and investments. But actually what we're doing is helping her sleep better. So by working through the numbers, or what I call the rational basis, we can then help with what is the emotional decision. And that part of my job is what I love. Creating that rational basis for emotional decision, whether that's working with an 11 beneficiary estate at the moment with like warring factions within a family and all that sort of stuff, or a mid-40s dad passed away, recently separated, so there's kind of conflicts around where money goes to taking care of kids. That stuff I love. But I also really enjoy working with just young people who want to build something and they get excited and they want to grow, and that's a big part that gets me going as well.
That's great. And the last question I have for you today is, can you briefly explain the role that ESG has when developing a client's portfolio?
Yeah, so this is, I suppose there's two parts to this. So ESG itself, it stands for environmental social governance, and that is actually a risk framework. So that's just looking at the valuation of a company and saying, or some form of investment, whether that be a property or something, and saying, are there any externalities to this business's operations, anything that it's doing, or any internalities, anything that it does on a day-to-day basis that could create an issue for capital value on controversies? So, if it's a fossil fuel company, it's fairly evident, right? We've got a potential risk that if fossil fuel companies become redundant, that share is going to be worth nothing. But there's also factors in there like what's their employee relations policy like, what's their gender equality policy like, things like that, that as society becomes more progressed, people will maybe not purchase from that company more because they've got a terrible gender equality policy or something. So that's the framework of ESG. But then there's responsible investment, which takes that step further and says, and depending on this whole spectrum around this, I also want to use this company for good. And so the basis is money drives everything. So as an investor, I have a say over what my investments do. How can I use my investments to drive social progress that aligns with my value? And also, arguably, improve the company's share price because it's a stronger company because of those ESG risk factors that we've mitigated. So when we're looking at a client, it fundamentally comes back to a simpler approach, which is, what does a client care about? Do the investments they currently have actually align to that, or are they at odds with that? And can we still get them the outcome they're looking for, retirement, working towards a family, whatever that might be, without having that risk associated?
Okay.
Yeah. And a classic example, the last 12 months, there's been substantial outperformance in gas prices due to the war in Ukraine. So the question, I ask clients is, if we had 2% less performance in that 12-month period, but you weren't profiting off the war, would you be happy with that? And the clients that say yes, it's the right kind of thing for them. The clients are like, actually, I just want to get the best performance. I'm happy to put up a wall. That's fine too. And there's no judgment, but that's the kind of approach we take.
That's great, and really interesting too to hear your, I guess, take on that as well.
No worries.
Thank you again for joining this episode of the FAAA Fireside Chat. Thank you again to Nathan Fradley for joining.
No worries.
Thank you.